So can I stand for the first few minutes and then talk? Very quickly, the panelists were very clearly wanting to know how many of you all are actually founders and looking to raise money? Okay. And that's really nice. Raised money or going to raise the next round of funds? That's the next target that we want to know. Okay. Fantastic. All right. And from Trivandrum, from Kerala, anyone from Kerala? Founders from Kerala? Okay, great. Outside of Kerala, from Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, outside of India? Anyone there? Or we are mostly from Kerala? Okay. Because by the way, the founder here who's sitting, sir, you should raise your hand. Okay, so he is a homegrown Trivandrum boy, right? So a round of applause for him first. Okay, because he's I think 15 years you have been doing this without even working anywhere. So that's incredible, buddy. That's really nice. And of course, we also have Pushkar, who's flown in to Trivandrum, and he will be also talking and sharing his insights. And then we have Anup, who's of course very seasoned, whatever that means. We don't know what that means, but you're actually technically almost like an entrepreneur because you're raising your own fund and you're growing the business. Fantastic. So are we ready to quickly, if I may take a sense of what is it that you think you want to hear from the three gentlemen here? They're extremely versatile. They have very good sound knowledge and expertise. Is there anything specific? If you just want to shout it out, we don't want to wait for the end to ask you questions. Anything specific that you care about? Karan, I can see you if anyone wants to talk about it. Anyone? Anything? Come on, guys. I know it's lunchtime, but it can't be so bad. Please help us to help you. Anything? They don't have a mic, but we can hear you if you want to shout out. Okay, we'll still come back to you if you need, but otherwise we will start this conversation. What I would request you three gentlemen is very, very crisp. Please give us introduction of something that matters to you, what you all are doing, and so that they know about what exactly is the purpose of your life. A very deep existential question I'm asking you all, but let's start with that. Anup, if you'd like to start, no problem. Yeah.
That's a very deep question, Vijetha. So I have the onus of starting this off, so you guys get time to think. So Rajiv, who's also here, Rajiv and I were earlier with Orias Venture Partners. That's an early stage fund, and we invested in almost 21 startups across sectors.
Correct.
We have now founded BlueGreen Ventures. I don't know how we got this name, but we got it and we're terribly delighted about it. A lot of people think that we are entirely focused on climate. Well, that's partially the truth. So, one of our focus sectors is going to be climate and sustainability. And we have led investments into companies like Varaha and Battery Smart earlier in the past. But we'll also look at financial inclusion, which means fintechs which are serving the underserved, as also B2C businesses of all kinds. It can be in education, health, relationships, whatever you call it, but reflecting post-COVID consumption mindsets. So we don't want to do 1.0, we only want to do 2.0. So that's what we're doing at the moment. And existential question, I love working alongside founders because I don't have any brilliant ideas of my own, but I know how to recognize them.
That's a great skill to have, Anup. And of course, you all have heard the gentleman, and if any of you all are working in this specific space and want to catch up with you, Anup, then you're okay to just hang around later on with them?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
They're on LinkedIn. You can catch me anytime.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. And now, Krishnan, you have a very different kind of story. So I think you should also put some anecdotes around that also for the audience.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of this company called Waybeo. We are one of the largest call tracking providers in India. So when I say call tracking, let me ask you a question. So what would you do if you want to buy a Royal Enfield bike right now?
Find the money first.
No, assuming you have money, you have...
Showroom. I would go to a showroom.
So before you go to showroom, what would you do?
Look up reviews, talk to some friends who I know who have the bike, yes.
Right, so where do you look up, right?
I think social media, there's a lot of, they're pretty active, and there's a lot of users who write because proud owners of Royal Enfield would write about it.
Right. So after that, before reaching the showroom, there is one thing that happens.
So I'm giving all the wrong answers.
So what you do normally is you search for a showroom near you.
You search for a showroom, yes.
And if you search on Google, it gives you 3 different options, right?
Correct.
You can either call, or you can click to navigate the direction, or they take you to the website.
Sure.
We come in on the call space. So if you call, all those calls go through us to any Royal Enfield showroom across India. So it's not just about Royal Enfield. So we work with a lot of other automobile players as well, like Tata Motors, Honda, Nissan, etc. So what we do specifically with Royal Enfield is we help them understand how many calls are hitting their dealerships, how many calls are for sales, how many calls are for service. And if it is for sales, what are the brands that they ask for? For example, how many calls are coming in for 100, 350, or for Super Meteor and things of that sort. This is what we do. And today our call tracking platform serves about 23,000 locations across India. And in last year, 2023, we got acquired by a company called CareStack. So that's a US-based company. In the US, we have developed an AI-based phone system for dentistry. So that's the other aspect of business. So these are the 2 things that we do, one in the India and other in the US.
Fantastic. Of course, it's a very dry introduction, but we'll get deeper into your story. Don't worry. Pushkar, over to you.
So I work for a firm called Tremis. We invest in early stage startups. Like we are co-investors, so we invest with bigger investors like Orias, where Anup used to work before. And like Anup said, I love talking to founders because like our generation, we really didn't have the chance to build startups in this country. But now these young founders, they are so much more smarter. They have such better ideas. And it's always a great learning experience for someone like me, who's a non-techie, talking to them, how technology is shaping up. And I really enjoy that.
Awesome. So that was very crisp and very nice. So guys, do you all agree with him that you all are younger, smarter, wiser? Oh my God. They are okay. So I'll tell you why I'm going to ask this question, because buddy, I'm going to come to you. 15 years that you have done your startup, and you said only last 1 year back you got acquired. There were some lessons that when we were sharing and we were talking about it. Would you like to share that with them? Look, it's personal, so whatever you're comfortable, okay?
So, see, absolutely. So, see, when we started straight out of college, right? So we had no experience, no exposure.
Your parents didn't say anything?
Absolutely. So they were against it. Friends were against it. The society was against it. And, see, from the childhood, especially from this part of India, you're taught to limit yourself, right? So don't dream big. That's how, I was taught. So we started any which ways. So we had no idea. The idea itself was to start a company. So that's how we started. So then it was all about figuring out, what we need to do, right? Because you have started, now that you cannot fail. Your society will not allow you to fail. Your friends will not allow you to fail. Your family will not allow you to fail. So, failure is considered such a sin. So it was all about figuring it out. So it took us quite some time for us to figure out what we wanted to do, right? So all the 14 years of journey, the 0 to 1 crore revenue, it took us 7 years to reach that mark. And that's when we actually found the product market fit. And then the second 6 years, we made it from 1 crore to 10 crore in revenue. So I think, if you're starting straight out of college without experience, I think I lost 7 years of my life. So that's the hardest lesson that I have. And secondly, I think it's very difficult to serve the India market. I should have focused on a global market, which I didn't. So it was extremely challenging to get these revenues, just focusing on India market. So if you were to ask me, the 2 things that I would not do would be these 2. Don't start something without your, understanding of the market. And secondly, I would prefer to start global market, not in India market. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to you on your investment and how did you get acquired. But now I would like to ask you, Anup, you have worked with so many founders. There have been rough times that you would have seen them going through. They would have come to you for some guidance, mentorship, or advice, or whatever you want to call it. So could you share in some ways some of these specific insights on the discussion points? You may name them or you don't want to name them, also doesn't matter. But what went through their minds? How did they tackle situations?
Yeah, I think there are many, many situations of this nature, and I think one thing is guaranteed. When you decide to become a founder, it is going to be full of ups and downs. So I think first thing is that, anybody who's here who's thinking of starting up or, probably is in the early stages, please prepare yourself mentally for that. It's not a job anymore to go there and work from 9 to 5 and all of that. You're responsible for everything. You're responsible for everybody's paychecks. I think that is also one of the biggest responsibilities in a startup founder's mind, how to take care of their team, because they're acutely aware that while they want you to work for them, that they're also running their own homes and expenses and everything else. They've also got their dreams and ambitions. So you feel quite indebted to them and you feel absolutely morally obliged. If things are not going to go okay, the first hit that you'll probably take as a founder is upon yourself, right? So that's one of the learnings that I also saw in almost every other founder who's world class. But I'll take one specific example. These are battery smart founders. So, their model was actually passed on by most VCs. So one fateful evening, and I remember at WeWork in Gurgaon, and we signed the term sheet, the company got registered actually later. So we did the term sheet in a very unconventional way in their own names. Actually, there was no company as yet because they were not sure whether they'll get funded or not. Now, lo and behold, this was early 2020. Now, they've registered the company, they're about to start operations. They've taken a place on rent, office, hired people. 23rd March 2020, COVID strikes. And there is a lockdown. Now, this is a company which is based on mobility. I mean, did you expect that as a founder?
None of us thought about it.
None of us saw that coming. I was on a flight from somewhere in February or something getting tested at the international airport for COVID, etc. symptoms. But nobody knew that we would be locked down in our houses for a good 18 months. And there would be no mobility. Buses, trains, everything stopped and, nothing much until 21. So it was a very tough period. They had to roll back everything that they had planned and executed and take the biggest hit upon themselves. Survive on a shoestring budget themselves. I remember them taking like 50,000 rupees a month, and they were both, 30 plus kind of founders, and really cringing it out, right? But that, I think, stayed with them, because out of that today they're a $350 million company, right? And they built it from there. But if they hadn't crossed that phase and gotten depressed, shut down the company, they were, maybe even thinking about how long this is going to last, because it's not in their hands. It is not some government tender you're waiting for. It is not something else that you're waiting for. It is not a sales pipeline. It's not a product, issue. So I think it's sheer mental commitment to go through the ups and downs is one single biggest learning that I've had. There will be ups and downs, but founders who survive those ups and downs, ups is good to survive, but downs, they're the ones who will make it through to the other side. That's my biggest learning.
Fantastic, Anup. Thank you so much. To just let the audience know, we have 17 minutes left. If any of you guys want to ask a question, I'm just requesting the organizers to get a couple of mics ready so we can take those questions whenever in between. Pushkar, what I would like to ask you is, you have worked in multiple cities, right? And over a period of time, you have met a lot of founders. So when you look at mental and mental resilience, or the way they have navigated situations, maybe when they're working or through their journey, do some of these aspects make a difference? Technical skills, sales skills, of course, matter. But handling adversity, handling tough situations, figuring out the way, the landscape, etc. How do you judge it, and what is it that matters? Go for it.
Honestly, I think it's very difficult to judge grit or persistence. But as a first-time founder and in early stages, that's one of the key traits all VCs look at. See, whenever we invest in any company, Anup would agree, like all early stage investors, the odds are always stacked against you. 7 or 8 out of 10 companies would fail. But what we expect from founders is give it their best shot. Like, don't shut down the first moment some crisis strikes. And how do you assess that? Like, you do multiple conversations with them. You try to see what they have done in life so far. Can they persist? Can they work do they have a 5-year or 10-year plan, or are they just there for 2-3 years? Do they want to quickly get acquired, or are they building it because they want to build it, because they're really passionate about it? And as investors or passion is just a buzzword, right? Like you keep hearing about, hey, you should follow your passion. In startups, I think that is correct. Like, because you can't build something really big unless you aren't really interested in it. Like Paul Graham always likes to say, the best founders are those who started following their hobbies, like something that started as a hobby and then eventually morphed into something massive. So one question I ask founders is, would you do it for free? Like the idea you're doing it, would you do a part-time job or would you work somewhere full-time and do it on the side? Are you so much motivated about it? And again, like you said, it's very difficult to judge it through conversations, but like as you grow older, as you speak to multiple founders, and you start going by your gut, so you get a sense out of it.
Makes a lot of sense. And for those who just want to know, Paul Graham is one of the founders of Y Combinator, a great writer, a fantastic resource, I think. So thank you so much for talking about that. For all the founders, just make a note of it. It'll help you guys in your journey. And I think you want to say something? You were waiting to say something?
No, so yeah, just to add to that, in general, when you're running a company, when you're a founder, quite often you'll be facing challenges at every step of your growth, right? So how do you see, it all depends on how you see those challenges, right? You can either see that as an opportunity for growth or, you can see as a threat and quit. So it really, I would want to see it as an opportunity so that, any challenge that comes to you, you can just convert it as an opportunity and, you can grow from it. So I think since you brought the point of grit, I think there is a book called Power of Grit that has helped me a lot in my entrepreneurship journey.
I read that book. It's a nice book. Yeah. Okay. And also, I think you also have supported by the Kerala Startup Mission with a small grant in your journey. If you're okay to talk about that.
Absolutely. So it's not just grant. So I was supported in every way possible by Kerala Startup Mission and Kerala government. So I don't know of any other company who was supported like this. So to start with, initially on 2010, we were granted a seed loan of 25 lakhs. That is the first investment that we received from KSUM. And in 2015, the government gave us another 15 lakh loan as a part of KSIDM project. And then we were given funds to just travel to United States, 2 lakh rupees in 2015. And in 2018, we were offered scale-up space. And thanks for not kicking us out when we defaulted on our rent. So I don't know, so it has been extremely supportive. I have no words to say. Thank you so much to KSUM.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging it as well on this platform. Okay, so how did you get Airtel to invest in you? And how did you manage to get someone to buy you out? How did that happen?
Yeah, so most of the investment happened in really, really early stages. The first investor that we raised was just 10 lakh with 1 crore valuation in 2010. So, and then the second investments happened around 2013. So ever since 2013, we were not, actively looking for funds. So Airtel was like, since we are into telephony, call tracking, telecom was a core piece of our software offering. So Airtel wanted our technology and advice and market advice because, they wanted to do something on the B2B space. So that's when they invested in us. So there was a lot of negotiation that was happening. So it was more like a strategic partnership because we were into call tracking and cloud telephony. So that's how Airtel invested in it.
Okay, perfect. So our topic is about market uncertainties. Today we're sitting in November 2024. But Anup, Pushkar, and of course Krishnan, you as well. Do you see some headwinds, potential headwinds that might be coming in the next 1 year, not just in what you all are doing, but otherwise as well? So something that could help the founders in the room to kind of prepare themselves maybe, if that makes sense. If any of you want to chip in on that, open.
Yeah, I can definitely. So AI is one big thing that is happening, right? Ever since OpenAI happened, since in my space, especially around call tracking, now that everybody is moving into speech recognition, so then there is real-time transcript coming out, then the call summaries are coming out, and what you actually do with that data and, finding out lost opportunities within those phone calls. So So it's very hard to survive as just as telecom player anymore. You need to have AI baked into your product, and the sooner the faster. So I think AI is a big ask from the industry. That's something happening that I see. And if I don't do it, I'm sure I'm not going to be there for many years if I don't do it right now. That's a very big push happening.
Okay.
And AI is really accurate these days. That's a challenge. So earlier people thought that AI is not accurate, so nobody was bothered. But now that AI has become extremely accurate, so that people are demanding AI on every product out there. Yeah.
Okay, so you have to move with the customer times and everything. Superb. Anup, Pushkar, would you guys like to add something?
I would say 2-3 things. One is like Krishnan said, so especially if you're building a SaaS company, you must have an AI roadmap because it's very difficult. AI is just disrupting SaaS, and India historically has been a SaaS country. Like we have had great SaaS startups. And there's one resource I would like to suggest is there's a firm called Bessemer Venture Partners, BVP. Their website has excellent reports on SaaS, AI, like how AI is disrupting SaaS, which gives you a very great broad level view. And then you can, of course, decide your roadmap, like how AI is going to change that. Number 2, I think, like we all keep talking about funding winter, and money supply is going to remain tight for next 12, 18 months because of different global macroeconomic situations. So it might not be very easy to raise capital, especially in early stages. India, we have very few early stage funds, pre-seed or seed funds, although that's changing. So you need to really stand out if you want to raise capital before revenue, I would say, before product, or maybe the product is ready, but there's not much revenue, the competition is immense. Thirdly, how I look at Indian scenario is, we are seeing a lot of great hardware startups. That is a great sign. We are seeing a lot of great hardware VCs. But if you're building something like a consumer brand, now we have, I don't know what, millions of consumer brands. So it's very difficult to raise capital for a consumer brand unless you're doing something way different.
Okay, so that makes sense. How many D2C startups, consumer tech startups out here? Okay, so I hope this makes sense to you guys. All right, great. Sir, aapke liye?
Look, I have a contrarian point of view. So I think anything to do with imports is clearly on the radar of the government, and the government doesn't want it. Foreign exchange is something which the government wants to preserve under any circumstances. Okay? FDI is welcome, right? But Indians purchasing things outside, not welcome. Why did Make in India happen? Precisely because of that. They saw that we are going to buy more and more iPhones. Hey guys, bring it here, right? Defense is coming over here. It's getting exported out, right, to countries which can want it. Satellite, we are becoming a nation which can export to other nations. So anything which is export oriented is very much welcome, and I think you got to really look out for that. If any of you founders are going to work in that space, please go ahead and work in that space. You'll get a lot of incentives. The other piece is that the monetary policies of the government have held the interest rates so far in such a tight fashion that there is a lot more domestic capital which is now available and is finding its way into Indian companies like the ones which will be started by all of us over here, right? In fact, on the other hand, the inflation in the overseas markets is making those guys more risk averse and saying, why should I send money to a country which depreciates against the dollar, right? When I'm getting 5.5% on treasury bills over here, which is fixed. Earlier it was 0 in 2021. A lot more capital came over here. There was $65 billion which came into this country. But now it's going to be a lot more domestic capital, which is all great news. If the stock market can deliver 15% CAGR, which it has been doing for the last 10 years, how do you go and deliver more than that? That's where venture capital, that's where startups, that's where all. There are barely about 500 companies in India which are getting all the attention on the public markets. So the next 1,500 companies have to come in. They have to come in from this audience. So that has not yet been done because India was a country of job seekers. India has now become a country of job creators. Our orientation, and I don't know how many of us are below 30 years old over here. Raise your hands. Anil, of course, you, of course, minus 60, of course.
Anil is the youngest.
Or maybe minor, below 30. I think mostly people here below. the first desire of a graduate today coming out of a college is not to get a job anymore. It is to see if they can start their own business. Is that correct or not? That wasn't the case 10 years back.
Any other inputs, Pushkar, from your side?
I also believe the market's changing. You would have seen like past 5-6 months, there have been 3-4 decent sized edtech deals. Like people are investing 40, 50 million, 20 million. And I honestly believe like as long as you're building something that people want, you will find customers and you will find investors. Maybe you won't find investor on the first go. Maybe the market is more difficult. But if you're building something which is great, which people actually need it, you will find investors because you'll have revenue, you'll have customers for it. Like the example Anup gave, if you're solving a genuine problem, I wouldn't be really bothered about saying, hey, it's edtech, the market's bad, I won't raise capital. What I would rather focus on is, hey, am I solving something which is genuine? Do people actually need it? And if yes, you'll raise money. Or even you might not even raise money, but you'll build a big company.
Okay,
see, money raising is not the ultimate goal. The goal is to build a big company, right? It's just a way to build a big company quicker. So don't confuse money, like don't say, like, hey, raising capital is my goal. It's no one's goal. The goal is to build a big company. Raising capital, external capital, just one way to do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for being such a lovely audience. And we appreciate this interaction. And all three of them are available for you to interact with later. Thank you so much.